Yo, what's up, everybody, man? This is Shakim. What's going on, man? Really on one tonight. Really upset. I want to talk about some things. It's gonna make a lot of people mad, which I really don't care if it makes you mad at this point, because we're at a point right now to where we need to have like real honest conversations. We need to be in a mode to where we really don't care who it offends. I don't care who I offend. Y'all already know I've been doing this a long time. So I don't care who I offend, because at this point, we got to really start having some conversations that are going to shake people up. And I want to talk about a lot of the tone deafness, bigotry, lies. I mean, and it's both sides, right? So I'm gonna talk about the bigotry on the left and then the bigotry on the right. Because as somebody who has conservative views, me myself, I see a lot of racism and racist comments and comments that are so tone deaf by people who are Republicans. I mean, I see it. I mean, they literally, and I'm gonna go on the left too. So don't just think I'm going on a bash Republican, a bash Republican trend, because it's gonna get a little deeper than that. Oh, let me share this video out. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna talk about both parties because it's sickening and disgusting. So let me start off like this. If you don't understand why a black person does not like a statue of a brutal, wicked, oppressive white supremacist, then you are the problem. Read my lips again. If you don't fundamentally understand why a black person or a white person or a Hispanic or whoever, if you don't understand why a person does not like a statue of someone who has articulated the love for oppression, they have articulated the love for rape, robber, robbery, murder, discrimination, all out dehumanization of a race of people. If you don't understand why black people do not want a statue of that particular individual up, you are the problem. Even if you don't agree with it being removed, you should understand fundamentally why somebody does not want that particular type of statue up. Now, let me talk about this. For all of you who are trying to use this alt-right talking point or this talking point, whether it be alt-right, whatever, many of you who are using this talking point, talking about, well, we're erasing history, that is a lie. That is one of the most egregious, stupid, fallacious arguments that somebody could ever utter out of their mouth. Erasing history is not taking down a statue. For one, if you remember why Carter G. Woodson actually started Black History Month, he started Black History Week. Carter G. Woodson started Black History Week because black people were having our history erased out of books. We were not teaching our history at all. So if anybody knows about the erasure of history, it's black people. We've been fighting to get our history inside of books in public schools, private schools, charter schools. We have been fighting for ages trying to get our history put into books if you're talking about erasing of history, we know firsthand what erasure of history looks like. We understand how it feels to look at a textbook that talks about the history of America and not see one black person save Martin Luther King for a quick line. We understand how it feels to watch an American history video and see no black person. We know how it feels to see videos on YouTube and in school when we were younger that had the accomplishments of America and never see a black person in that particular video and in that book. So when you start talking about the erasure history, as a black person, I know firsthand what that looks like. When I was in school, and a lot of you too, when we were coming up in school, we didn't have the luxury of being able to see our people in history books other than the month of February for Black history. So don't come to me with this argument talking about, it's erasing history. We understand what erasing history looks like, being Black in America, having to fight tooth and nail to try to get some sort of recognition of our history and our plight in America and what we've accomplished. We know what it looks like. Taking down a statue is not the erasure of history. The erasure of history is somebody coming in and rewriting a curriculum in your school and leaving out every white person that is every white accomplishment imaginable. Erasing history is sitting there and having to have your history limited to 30 days out of, or 28 days out of a year. And keep in mind, that wasn't the white person's doing. Carter G. Woodson fought for that particular month. So let's not even attribute Black History Month to what they did. That's what we did. So let's not even talk about how, let's not even talk about the erasure of history when we as Black people understand what erasure of history looks like. When you go and you watch specials on TV and you talk about the ancient Kemetic pyramids in ancient Egypt, and you start talking about the Nile Valley civilizations, and you start talking about where civilization began, and we start talking about, the ancient Indians, the ancient Egyptians, and you start looking at white people, literally white people, we understand what the erasure of history really looks like. So don't come to me with this weak talking point talking about, we're trying to erase history, when we know what erasure of history looks like. Taking down a statue is not erasure of history. Now, I'm gonna tell you like this, and I'm gonna be honest, right? Because we have an honest discussion. Brandon Stryker, who is the leader of the Walkaway movement for the Republican Party, he posted today that minorities need to get over the symbol of a noose being racist, and we should basically just say, hey, you know what? We're triggered by it, so don't worry about it. And I called him out as being someone who has the mindset of an alt-right white supremacist. I'm gonna tell you like this. Anytime a white man comes and tells me that I should not be triggered by a symbol that they have historically used to oppress, to murder, to rape, to rob, and to intimidate Black people for centuries, anytime a white person tells me that I should not have some sort of emotional feeling when I see that type of symbol being used by a white person, that is a racist statement. You are nothing but a down low, dirty racist who's trying your best to tell me how I should feel. You will never hear him saying, listen, Jews, you should not be triggered by the system of the symbol of a swastika. See, he would never do that. He would never tell a Jew, okay, you shouldn't be triggered by a swastika. He would never say that because he'd be canceled. He'd be canceled. He'd never say that. He'd never say that. But he feels as though he can speak for me being a Black man and say that, oh, Shakim, you should not feel triggered by a noose. Oh, well, get over it. That's in the past. See, and this is the type of thing that I'm saying we got to speak out against, and we got to be careful. And when you start looking at the rhetoric of people right now, especially on the right, and I'm going to get to the left, when you start looking at the people right now that's on the right, it's a big problem. They are some of the most tone deaf individuals you will ever run into. Ever. I got people in my own city right now. Everybody who's been following me, y'all know we did the conflict resolution course. Y'all know we go in schools. Y'all know we talk to students about crime. Y'all know the work that we've been putting in on the ground 24/7 trying to stop violence in the communities. We done walk with the 100 black men in Charleston County, walking through the neighborhoods, knocking on doors, talking to residents about what they need. Do you know in some of these groups and in some on my page, I actually have people who are Republican. Remember, I'm gonna get on the Democrats too, but let me talk about the Republicans. I have some people in my own city that'll turn around and ask me about black on black crime in Chicago. Look how stupid that sounds. As much work that we put in the city of Charleston and North Charleston and in this community, you mean to tell me I got idiots in my own city turn around and ask me about black on black crime in Chicago? That just shows you how stupid and idiotic these people are. Stupid. Why would somebody in my own city come on my post and ask me about black on black crime in Chicago when clearly I am in the city of North Charleston? That's dumb. But these are the talking points that they've been given, so they don't have any other real rebuttal. They can't think for themselves. They're being trained to think a certain type of way, and they're given these talking points by a lot of blacks who have a lot of alt-right mentalities. They're given these talking points, so now that's all they know. That's all they know. And that's just some of the most, I have never, and it just to this day burns me up in my soul to see a person in my own city come on my post and ask me about black on black crime in Chicago. And they have not done anything in this city, in this county, and even in this state to address some of the needs that are coming in the community and trying to bring some sort of hope and connection back to police community relations. Why is it that people are so tone deaf that they don't even and resolve issues? Boy, okay, it's raining outside. That's why I kind of cut off on me. But this is the thing. If you say, and I told a lady last night, y'all saw my live stream when I was out there on Calhoun Street in the statue. How can you say that you are a conservative Republican? How can you say that you are a conservative Republican and you are for freedom, you are for justice, you are for equality, you are for all of these rights? You say that you are Republican and you are for all of these unalienable, God-given rights. How can you say that you are conservative and you push these principles, and yet and still you turn around and advocate for a man who never was for equality, who was never for men, who was never for so-called blacks, minorities, who was pro-slavery, who was pro-keeping women oppressed, who was a male chauvinist? How is it that you could come on and say that you espouse conservative beliefs and values, but yet you protect a statue that is meant to honor someone who has values and who has a belief system that is totally opposite to what you say you believe in? That's hypocrisy to the core. But the thing is, they don't want to. Oh, I talk about the Dems in a minute. I talk about them. But this is the thing. I'm not ready to deflect to the Democrats yet. I'm gonna get there, but I'm not ready yet. I get there. I get the Biden and all of that there. I always talk about it, but I'm not ready yet. Right now, I'm talking about the hypocrisy in the conservative community and what's going on. Because this is where a lot of the conversation needs to come. This is where a lot of the conversation really needs to take place. Because even if I convince a Democrat that Joe Biden for the last 40 years has enacted racist policies that have totally targeted black communities. Even if I talk to any of my Democratic friends and talk to them about the legislation that has negatively impacted black communities that have been passed by Democrats, even if I talk to them about it, they still would never turn to a party that is totally tone deaf, hides racism, and never wants to talk about issues. Never. So you can't sit here, I can't sit here and say, you know what, black people, you need to join the Republican Party. How? For what? For what? These guys, these people over here, anytime I say, hey man, let's talk about police reform. What about black on black crime? You think a black person is gonna want, a black person is gonna want to join the Republican Party when they say, hey man, we got some issues in our community that really we need to talk about. What about black on black crime? What about abortion? What about black women having abortion? What about Planned Parenthood? You're like, hold on, like, yo, hold on, shit. Let's talk about one issue at a time. So that's the problem that a lot of black conservatives have, because they feel like, these issues aren't even being addressed because of so much deflection, and people want to deflect at any given moment. So they feel like, shit, I ain't being heard by either side. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just sit this one out. They just feel like, shit, I'm gonna just sit this one out, because if I can't at least have a conversation, you can't even have a civil conversation about race in America with a lot of people on the right. You can't even have a simple civil conversation. You can't, because all it's going to turn into is, and like I said, people come at me and talk about black in my city. People talk about talking to me about black on black crime in Chicago. Bro, I'm like, we like 600-700 miles from Chicago. What are you talking about Chicago for? Listen, they'll sit back here. A lot of people on the right, they'll sit back here and they'll say, locally, I'm talking about local. They'll say, you know what? Blue lives matter. This blue lives matter. You know what I'm saying? We're for police. If you notice, Tim Scott was on an island, bro. Tim Scott pushed the police reform bill. The man was on an island. You didn't hear none of the people, the local GOP, Republicans, whatever. You ain't hear nobody backing Tim Scott and saying, listen, this is what we need. You ain't heard nobody saying that. Nobody. Tim Scott, they left that man on an island. Tim Scott was the only one addressing the needs in the community, even if the bill wasn't perfect, right? Ain't no bill perfect. Even if you say the bill wasn't perfect, they still did not back Tim Scott. They left Tim Scott on an island. And when the Democrats started attacking Tim Scott, he was on an island by himself. You know why Tim Scott was on an island by himself? And the brother probably feel really abandoned. He's talking about issues that are in the black community when the rest of the GOP is saying, what about black on black crime? What about abortion? What about Planned Parenthood? What about Antifa? Tim Scott is like, yo, I want to talk about how we can put together some reforms that are going to at least start the ball moving in the right direction. Tim Scott said, I'm going to lead this charge. He didn't have the support. He didn't have it. His own party didn't even support him. You want to know how I know? Bro, I ain't got a Republican on my page now that's been totally saying, let's get behind Tim's. Bro, I got every single damn near Republican politician on my page. I ain't seen nobody say that we gonna back Tim Scott for this particular reform. They didn't back Tim Scott. That's the truth. They left the man out to dry. Left him out to dry. Why? Because in their heart, they don't want that. They don't want to talk about it. It hurts them. It hurts them. It hurts them. They don't want to talk about. Oh, my friend Natalie. Let's see what my friend. Now listen, Natalie. I'm gonna tell you about that. Natalie is my friend. Natalie, I love Natalie. Natalie has a good heart. So she gonna come on here and say all kind of stuff. But I'm gonna read Natalie's question. Natalie, y'all don't attack Natalie. Okay, Natalie says, by Trump bringing jobs back to America with his policies, he's creating more jobs for upstanding black men and women and limiting the influx of illegal immigrants. He's reserving those jobs for deserving black and white Americans. These things stop the bleed and set up the opportunity to then focus on improving conditions of the forgotten communities, with the president having to find things like COVID and leftist anarchy and rioting and bleeding money to other nations first, the black, and she stopped. I'm trying to read the rest. Natalie, what happened to the rest of you? So let me tell you like this. A lot of that is true. Right? Economy. I'm gonna be the first one to admit that I like Trump because of his economic policy. I think he did a good job in taking what Obama left, because I'm a brother who's gonna say Obama pulled us out of of a depression. And if somebody comes on here and say Obama didn't, I don't know what world you living in. We know that after President Bush left office, the second Bush, we were in a depression. Yes, Obama pulled the country out of a depression that was left by George Bush. I ain't even gonna sit here and say that Obama didn't. Obama did. And we all are living witnesses, because we know around that time in 2009, 2010, bro, we was hurting. No job. We was really, 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 really hurting. I mean, people couldn't find no job. So yes, Obama brought us out of out of a depression. Trump continued the trend. Just think now, just because you take over a good economy, our economy that's rolling, you can still mess it up, because anybody that understands the economy knows that the economy can crash overnight. So Trump did a good job in continuing to take something, building it. It's just like with a pro football team. Yes, you might get a team who won last year, but if you're not a good coach, that team that you had last year, they're going to lose. They're going to lose all their games, and you got the same team. So Trump actually did, my opinion, do a good job in managing the economy and things like that. He did a damn good job. I love the First Step Act. I love it. And remember, Obama did do the Truth in Sentencing Act. I was in federal prison when Barack Obama took the crack cocaine guidelines, and he brought, it was 101 to cocaine and crack. Obama dropped it from 50 to 1. He did. However, what happened is it did not apply to people with mandatory minimum sentences. That was one of the biggest flaws when we were incarcerated in federal prison, and a lot of brothers kind of got upset, because even though Obama did turn around and drop the disparity, still, if you were sentenced and you had a mandatory minimum, it did not allow you to get released early if you were sentenced under a mandatory minimum. That's why a lot of people were totally upset. But I lived through that. The First Step Back, what Trump did, yes, it took us a little further, and I am so glad that President Trump did what he did. I'm glad Obama did what he did. I'm glad Trump did what he did. I am an advocate of moving the needle regardless who moves the needle. Shout out to Obama. Shout out to Trump. I ain't hating on none of y'all. Good job. Now, the problem is, right, and something that Natalie said that really, 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 really is the truth. And so She said that, okay, president having to fight, she meant to say fight the things like COVID and leftist anarchy and rioting and bleeding money to other nations first, right? So let me tell you like this. Trump is his own worst enemy. Trump is his own worst enemy. He elects to get into these Twitter wars. He can ignore those people. He can ignore them. But what happens is by you continuing to give so much energy into Antifa. Okay, if they do something, lock them up, whatever. But when you're constantly in different Twitter wars, going back and forth with this governor, back and forth with that governor, back and forth with that governor, you in a state of disarray, bruh, he's doing that to himself. He doesn't, you listen, any strategist will tell you, you are not supposed to fight every war. If you fight every war, you will find yourself in a situation to where you're losing because you're always fighting a war. Always fighting a war. Trump does this to himself. When he gets on Twitter and he starts picking these fights, bro, he's taking away from the gains that he did do. Listen, Trump could be one of the best presidents. Trump could be, let me tell you why Trump could be one of the best presidents. A lot of people, no, hold on, and I'm addressing this, and I'm glad Natalie said this. This is what Natalie said. She said, if he didn't use Twitter and social media, the mainstream media would distort everything he says further. But this is the reason why the mainstream media distorts what he says, and they definitely distort what he said, because he's always in fights and arguments with them. Always, no matter what. He could be having a wonderful conversation and he's talking, then all of a sudden he just throws in, well, Don Lemon is one of the most dumbest reporters that I ever met in my life. And, CNN, man, they just like horrible and they trash. And you like, okay, what? You ain't even have to say that. You did not have to say that. That is totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. So the thing is, you always in beefs and wars and going back and forth, all of the gains that you're making towards the black communities, the minority, whatever community that you're trying to reach, bro, it blows up in your face because you always fighting with everybody. He always fight, bro. He got to learn how to chill. Trump could be one of the best presidents if he just learned how to chill and be easy. Just sit back, cool out. But no, he want to go on Twitter wars and he want to fight. That's why the media has taken a lot of stuff that he says and distorted it. Prime example, when he was at the rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, what did he say? I told my people to stop testing. Why the hell would you say that? Bro, if you know the media is after you and you know the fake news is always after you, why would you at a rally make a statement and say, I told my people to stop testing, slow testing down? Bro, you already know you got a target. And let me trip you out how he messed up even more. He had all of his representatives jump on and say, oh, no, he was just playing. Oh, he was just joking. No, he was messing around. You know what Trump said? When they talked to him, he said, I don't joke around. Bro, you just had everybody defend you. He just had everybody in his campaign defend his statements. And the man turned around and said, oh, I don't joke. So what does that do to everybody who just sat back fighting for you, going on Fox News, going on CNN, and say, oh, man, he was just joking, man. It was sarcasm. And he turned around and said, nah, I ain't joking. What does that do? Listen, I'm gonna tell you like this. And the Democrats, I'm gonna definitely go on the Democrats. I'm gonna go on the Democrats now. This is the thing. If you always call Trump, he's a racist and a bigot, and he's this and that and this and that. Why are you gonna pick somebody who has over 40 years worth of policy that is totally in accord with what you just said. You can't literally beat Trump in the head talking about Trump is racist, and then on the other side you got to offer Joe Biden. That makes no zero sense. Zero. Even if the Democrats say, you know what, we're gonna get Trump ass out of office. We're gonna get his ass out of office. Bro, you can't give the people Joe Biden because now they're looking like shit. What I'm gonna vote for him for? Like he doesn't energize anybody. His policies are horrible. We don't even have to talk about it because it's been discussed so many times. You know what it is. You know what it is. He has said there's video clips of him saying so many things that have so many racially biased undertones. It's crazy. You can't tell somebody, oh man, you know what? You're a racist if you vote for Trump. Then they're going to say, well, shit, look at Biden. Okay. Listen, Joe Biden has done more damage, and this is the truth. Joe Biden has done more damage to the black voters or whatever, the black people in America, black citizens, whatever. His policies have negatively impacted more black people than Donald Trump. You might not like Donald Trump's rhetoric. You might not like him. You might say, damn, man, dude, he says some dumb shit. We all say that. Republican, Democrat, everybody says that. You might not like it. But at the end of the day, when you start looking at policy, Joe Biden is he's way worse. That's why people say, well, why do you vote for Trump? Shit, I ain't voting for Biden. Yeah, I'm definitely not voting for Biden. If anything, shit, what if you vote libertarian, you're gonna throw your vote out? I vote libertarian if it came down. But this is the thing. Exactly, Stephen. You're right. Joe Biden has so much baggage, so you can't even sit back and tell a black Republican, man, listen, man, you don't like Donald Trump, vote for Biden. They're gonna be like, shit, vote for Biden. Like, you can't even. So this is the thing. The Democrats being tone deaf, they're so desperate to say, okay, we're not gonna, vote for. They're so desperate they would pick somebody with one of the worst records against Black America and try to put him against Trump. So who is the rest of the Black community going to vote for? Another career do-nothing line Democrat or a doofus who sometimes says dumb things but gets things done and keeps his promises? I know who I'm voting for. I can't speak for nobody else. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Black people aren't a monolith, of course. I mean, y'all already know this. But I really don't know. I know who I'm gonna vote for. I can't really say who everybody else is gonna vote for. But at the end of the day, if you a Democrat, you can't just sit back and fault somebody and call somebody stupid for voting for Trump when you have a candidate that you're backing that has years and years and years of just bad policy towards Black people. So I'm not really. It's. Hold on. Why I can't close this out? Hold on. But yeah, it's totally horrible. Hold on. Let me get this on really quick. Hold on, really quick. Hold on. Damn, I'm trying to close this out. Okay, hold on. All right, y'all, just give me a second. But I wanna see how y'all feel about this whole thing. Hold on. Natal. Hold on. Hold on. I want to see how y'all feel about this whole thing because at the end of the day, politics is corrupt. Politics is corrupt, but we need politics. It can definitely be something that is used to our advantage. And I think we need to somehow find out how we can how we can make things better. We need to learn how to have these discussions. We need to learn how to have, not hide our hands in the sand. We can't. We can no longer say, okay, if somebody says, we want to talk about police community relations, we don't need somebody to turn around and say, well, what about abortions in the community? That's not having a real discussion. We need to stop trying to deflect and say, let's confront these issues. Like, let's talk about them. Let's talk about them. Let's have these discussions, because ain't no racism in the U.S. Yeah, they tell you that. So this is the thing. We gotta, Steve, Trump, most definite. Most definite. Like I said, right now, I can't. I mean, I can't see myself voting for Biden. But like I said, man, I just wanted to get on and talk about it, because I mean, a lot of times we have so many tone deaf people who don't want to talk about the issues. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's sit down. Let's sit down. Why have listeners if you don't answer comments? What comments are you talking about, Frank? I don't know what comments he's talking about. What comments? We have to stop. I don't. Let's see. We have to stop falling back on vilifying people of other opinions. As a whole, we have forgotten how to disagree and move forward. And Frank, I understand it. And I'm gonna tell you something, Frank. I'm gonna tell you something that really, really, really gets me. That really, really gets me. When we start talking about vilifying people, which I definitely don't like to do. When we start talking about it pisses me off and it makes me upset when a lot of times individuals try to tell me how I should think, how I should react, like how like people try to put me in a box. Why not? That's a valid counteract and always will be. How about the innocent babies who are being slaughtered? Now, let me break that down. You said you were a former police officer. You were a former police officer. I work with police officers and talk to police officers all the time. As y'all know, the chief was on here the other day. I'm good friends with the police chief. Me and the man are good friends. I can call his phone. Hey, chief, how you doing? I talk to the sheriff. Me and the sheriff good friends. Sheriff will call me down if there's an issue. Sheriff Cannon and say, Shakim, hey, come down. Let's have a talk. Let's talk about police community relations and how we can make things. Eric Watson was just on here. Eric Watson is one of the top law enforcement officials in this county. Eric Watson, he came on here. Of course, he said, man, me and Shakim are real good friends. A lot of them respect me because of the community work that I do and a lot of the input that I give on how we can make things better and how we can make things work. Now, if the sheriff asks me, Shakim, come down to my office and let's talk about how we can go in the community and try to improve our policing practices, and let's talk about some of the issues that the people are having. What if I told the sheriff, well, what about abortion? Just think. Look how stupid that sounds. If the sheriff called me, and the sheriff probably is watching this live stream, me and the sheriff is cool. The sheriff, he respect me 100%. I respect Sheriff Cannon. If the sheriff called me and he say, Shakim, come down to my office and let's talk about how we can work to improve police community relations. I want to find out, I want my finger to be on the pulse of what's going on. And let's talk about building strategies to help in the community. What if I turn around and say, Sheriff, let's talk about the abortion clinics in the city? Sheriff gonna say, man, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? If Chief Burgess, who I was talking to last night, the chief of police in this city, he said, Shakim, I love and respect you, and I respect Chief Burgess. Chief Burgess called me down to North Charleston City Hall, and he said, let's do a forum, or let's talk about policing and how we can have more transparency with the community and build trust in the community. And I told Chief Burgess, well, let's talk about the abortion clinics in the city. Look how stupid that sounds. So when you say that this is your words, when you say, hold on. When you say that that's a valid counter, how is that? How is that a valid counter to understanding police community relations? Abortion has nothing to do with police community relations. I'm not understanding the logic that some of y'all are losing. Y'all just blow my mind sometimes with the talking points, and you don't ever think to say, how in the world can we resolve an issue? And you want to deflect. Deflection is not a valid counteract. It's not. It's not. Bro, if I sat back and started talking about abortion when I went into the chief office, the man gonna say, why are we even talking to Shakim? When we come down here and we say, hey man, we want some tips on how to make our department more friendly or more appealing to, the community, and I sit there and say, well, what about black on black crime in Chicago? They're gonna look at me and be like, man, what the hell is wrong with this dude? If the sheriff called me and say, hey man, we have an incident, we want to see how we can resolve. We have some people who, maybe filed some complaints and talked about an officer who maybe had, some bad interactions, and we just want to kind of get some input from the community and said, let's bring this to a closure and let's have a discussion. And I get in the sheriff office and I say, well, what about black on black crime in Chicago? But how are they gonna look at me? Tell me, bro, Antoine. Tell me, bro. You said you are a law enforcement officer. You said that a good counter argument to police community relations is abortion, bro. Tell me how a police officer or a sheriff or a police chief is gonna respect me as a community activist if they call me in their office and want to talk about how we can build relationships in the city, and I get in his office and I talk about black on black crime in Chicago. He gonna say, man, this is the stupidest Negro that ever walked in my office. Shakim, please get out of here. And that's why I'm saying we so bought in on a lot of these talking points that are sickening to the ears that we can't even think about how to resolve issues because we so stuck on these talking points that somebody done gave us out of the blue, and we feel like these are valid arguments. Talking about abortion has nothing to do with police community interactions. It has nothing to do with it. Nothing. Zero. But the thing is, it sounds good because it allows you to deflect and not talk about what the situation is. What happened to politics? Shit, I don't know what happened to politics. Politics now become a system of talking points to where nobody actually thinks from point A to point B to point C. It's only become a system to where we repeat talking points to each other and not even think about the big picture and how to resolve the issue. Okay, this is the thing. Because it's a conversation that must be addressed. If he does say that, he is not a leader and not willing to listen to all aspects. Black on black crime is much higher than police killings or brutality. I don't get my talking points from others. Let me tell you like this. Bro, I don't know what city you in. I don't know what city you in, bro. I don't know what city you in. But the city I'm in and the people the law enforcement officers who I talk to and I engage, they don't deflect, bro. They don't deflect. The sheriff can get on here now and tell you. The police chief can get on here now and tell you. When we go in and we have discussions, it's no deflection. Because every black person is not a criminal. And then the thing is, they already know that I teach a conflict resolution course in schools. They already know that I'm doing my portion, my part in trying to say, hey, let's build a system to where, and it's not just black on black crime. I talk to all kids, white, black, Hispanic, whatever. I talk to all kids when I go into schools. I don't just say I'm gonna talk to black kids. We talk to all kids. So it's not about black on black crime. I talk to white students. I talk to girls, females. We talk to Hispanics. We talk to everybody. But the thing is, you got to be able to stay on topic when you talking to people about certain things, because they look at you different when you can't even address the current topic at hand. If somebody called me, if the chief jump on, and I might interview the chief again so we can have this discussion, because I want people to hear this. I want people to hear this. I need people to hear this. Matter of fact, I'm going to reach out to the chief and we're going to have round 2 sometime this week or this weekend. When I talk to the chief and he comes with an issue, he wants my guidance and my insight on the issue. He don't want to hear me rambling about abortion. What does the chief of police have to do with an abortion clinic? Huh? How does the police chief have a say-so with an abortion clinic? Huh? When I talked to the chief the other day, you ain't hear me ask him about an abortion clinic. That's stupid. Imagine me interviewing the chief of police and he get up here and we talking about, we having a dialogue. Just think, me and him having a dialogue. If you didn't see the video, go watch the video. Me and him having a good dialogue about how we can bring unity and peace in the community and transparency and trust. What if I start talking to him about abortion? He gonna be like, man, Shaquem, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I can't. I can't do nothing about an abortion. So that's the whole thing, bro. You got to stay on topic. You know, you said, oh, I met with a white police chief yesterday and we talked for over 2 hours, good quality information. But if you're talking about abortion, that ain't gonna do nothing. If you talk for over 2 hours with a white police chief and y'all sat back and talked about black on black crime in Chicago and you in Clayton, North Carolina, bro, you didn't have that. All that was a good conversation. If you had a good conversation with a white police chief in your city in Clayton, North Carolina, and y'all talked about black on black crime in Chicago, bro, that's all it was a good conversation. You didn't move the needle and talk about trust and transparency and things that could help your community. If you talk to a white police chief in Clayton, North Carolina for 2 hours the other day and y'all talked about abortion, all you had was a good conversation. That's only place it went, because these are things that are irrelevant. It's talking points for the right when people want to deflect. It's only talking points and it's not going to do any good. Like I said, I go and I listen. Oh, what Natalie say? Skip over the deflections like that. He meant to trip you up and frustrate you. That's what people do today to silence you. Right, correct. Natalie, I agree with that, Natalie. That's what people do to silence you. Let's have these tough conversations, because the tough conversations are meant to bring us forward. Let's have them. I'm all for the tough conversations. I'm there. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's have the tough conversations. You know what I'm saying? So when people come on with these deflections, you know, and like I said, man, I got people who come on my page and they talk in my own city and talk about black on black crime in Chicago. Man, we not in Chicago. I don't got nothing to do with Chicago. I'm in North Charleston. We're in the city of Charleston. But okay, so but that's what you say. He said, brother, why would I sit there and discuss abortions to a police chief, brother? Come on, man. Because that's what you just implied, bro. That's what you just implied. Because you said in your words, it's a conversation that needs to be addressed. if he does say that, he is not a leader and not willing to listen to all aspects. Black on black crime is much higher than police killings and brutality. You just said that. You said that it's a conversation that must be addressed. Bro, but you addressing it to the wrong person. You're addressing it to the wrong person. And like I said, it's senseless talking points. It doesn't get us anywhere. And at the end of the day, it doesn't help move the needle. Bro, you did. I just, bro, what you doing? Let me bring you on. What you doing, big bro? Now, Antoine, that's my brother right there. So don't think me and this brother, this is a good brother, and I done met this brother in person, and like I said, this is a wonderful brother right here. So please, y'all never think me and this dude are beefing, because me and this brother, I sent you a link. I think you, I sent you a link, brother, and I'm there for this video. Shakim the Tactical. Natalie, Natalie, you want to get on, Natalie? And I like Natalie's way of thinking, and I appreciate Natalie. Nah, bro, I just sent you a link, bro. I ain't never speak against abortion. I mean, I didn't say nothing about abortion. I mean, I'm just saying at the end of the day, bro, you can't, if you talking about an issue with police community relations, people are bringing up abortion. I said it's totally unrelated. I don't even know how that talking point even even fits in. That's all I'm saying. Let's stick to the topic. But we gotta do better, man. We gotta do better with talking about things. Like I said, even with the situation with the statues, bro, we got to do better. When we talk about quality education, we got to do better. Let's talk about these things. Let's not cancel culture needs to stop. All right. So let's talk about cancel. Let's talk about cancel culture real quick. I'm glad you said that, Natalie. The cancel culture always been here. It's always been here. I mean, we've can I mean, I can't even think about when it started. The cancel culture, man, is I done had people try to cancel me. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it doesn't happen. But I done had some people say, "Oh, we gonna cancel Shakim because Shakim say he like Trump." I done had people try to cancel me because I said, "Man, you know what? I listen to Trump. I hear his message. I hear his message. It's I can deal. I'm having trouble processing a lot of his tweets. You know, I do. I have trouble processing a lot of his tweets. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I kind of, I kind of feel like he's not that bad. Hip hop showed how to win cancel culture. What do you mean by that, Sonny? What do you mean by that? Hip hop showed how to win cancel culture. And Sonny is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. I just bow down when Sonny come by. I don't even say nothing. I just whatever she go with, I say, hey, listen, Sonny wins. So I don't even argue with Sonny. Sonny wins. But my whole thing is this. My whole thing is this. Some people need to be canceled. Some people we gonna have to cancel, Natalie. Some people we gonna have to cancel, and we gonna have to give opposition to. That's a tough pill to swallow. But I think we're gonna have to cancel some people, or at least try, because that when you have certain voices that are destructive and deadly to a mission that's being accomplished, you got to speak out against them. You got to speak out. Some of it, yeah, I think is real petty. Some of the stuff I see is like, oh, that's petty. But some of the stuff gotta be addressed, and we have to really be assertive and aggressive and letting people know that these particular individuals do not speak for the whole. So I think the cancel culture can go both ways. Some people cancel no one beat them. Cool. I agree with that. I agree with that. Cancel no one beat them. Word. I feel that. I feel that. I feel that 100%. I feel that 100%. So my whole thing is at a certain point in time, we got to be able to let me say this. We got to be able to articulate, play to win, encourage, promote unity, don't gaslight and knock your people. As black people as a whole, we're going to have to get in the trenches and we're going to have to help each other, and we're going to have to continue to show positive things that we're doing. We're going to have to support each other because we have a lot of oh hold on, let me look at this. We should not be called black. We should not be called white race, black race, Latino race, and Asian race. Only race we should be is the human race. It's going to take all of them to end racism. United we stand, divided we fall. All right, let me tell you my problem with that. There's nothing wrong inherently with being called or looking at culture, right? Because when you start talking about white race, black race, and basically you're saying culture, Latino, it's nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong. Anytime you're asking somebody to erase their culture, that's a problem. That's a problem. I shouldn't have to erase my culture as being a black man in America or a black person. I should not have to erase my culture. I should be able to embrace my culture, and you should be able to love it because it is what God has created. You should love to hear me beat on the drums. You should love to see, to embrace, the religion or the ideology or the experience. You should have no problem with me embracing the experience of being black. I should have no problem with you embracing the experience of being Latino. I should not. I should love to eat your food. I should say, you know what? Let me get some Latino food. Or I like the music, or I like the lingo. I should love it because it's what makes our country, or should make our country, so different. I should not have to, you know, deny an Asian person from liking their cultural food or reading their cultural books and listening to their cultural lessons or tradition that's been passed down from generation to generation. See, that is where we have the issue, especially as being a conservative. You have people that want you to erase your culture and not embrace your culture and say, oh, well, everybody's colorblind. That's bullshit. Not everybody's blood color. That's bullshit. Everybody's not colorblind. Stop it. When people say, oh, well, everybody's American and all that. Yeah, that's cool. But at the end of the day, if you have a problem with somebody embracing their culture, then you're the problem. So I understand the point, but I don't really buy it in totality because I should be embraced because of my culture and my heritage. I should learn how to respect it. I shouldn't have to act like it doesn't exist. I should embrace it. Sonny said, start canceling people and they will come for our culture next. We run shit, give them no power. Word, 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 word. Natalie, a restaurant should not be canceled because they support Trump. A black business should not be canceled because they have a BLM sticker in the window. Word, I understand that, and I really do. I really do. I really do. The cancel culture has been around. Like I said, as an activist, a lot of y'all know me as being an activist in the city for years and years and years, and I probably like push the pedal to the metal to cancel like all kind of stuff. Like and people call me, oh, Shakem, you ready? Like we done like said we gonna like close all the Arab stores and all that other stuff. So I've been like a part of that for a long time. Um, let's see. Let's see what she says. What is important is equal under the law. The culture brings to you and should be shared back and forth. But if I embrace the accomplishments of another culture, then you can be a- accused of a cultural appropriation, not good. I am Italian. I love to share that culture. I love to know if the cultures are shared with me. Karen, and you know, Karen, I'm glad you made that statement. Let's talk about cultural appropriation. I think cultural appropriation happens when we try to monetize somebody's culture. And I think that's when we start coming into the cultural appropriation. But you made a good point about cultural appropriation. You really did. Because she made a good rebuttal to my statement. When people say, okay, well, I'm gonna embrace or I embrace black culture, so I'm aware, I'm aware a just say Natalie comes up and she wears a dashiki. They're gonna say, oh man, Natalie is trying to steal our culture and this and that. And I think that consternation or level of fear comes from over the years, we have tried to monetize other people's culture. That's like me. What if I go and start opening up Asian restaurants? You know what I'm saying? That's considered cultural appropriation. Like it could be considered that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not basically celebrating or saying that, I enjoy being, amongst Asian brothers and sisters and loving their culture. I'm like, yo, I'm about to get paid off this. And shit, I'm about to open up all kind of Asian restaurants, Chinese restaurants. What if I open up a chain of like 10 Chinese restaurants? You'd be like, come on, Shakim. Like, bro, this is cultural appropriation at this point. But you did make a good point because a lot of times people um take it to another level and it really gets kind of sticky. Natalie, these are people's livelihoods. The cancel culture hits me hard because I'm Jewish and people boycotted my family's business in the 50s and 60s because of the is wrong. Natalie, and you're right. Brian, another difficult conversation. We didn't create racism, but the expectation is we end it. Right, 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 right. Christine, no, I would never expect to erase any culture. I love everyone. Right. Cat, that's what we are completely baffled by, total hypocrisy. Correct. And I get it. I get it. So my thing is let's have you know let's have good conversations. Let's not deflect. And I think we should be able to have tough conversations. Like I said, Charlie James, me and Charlie got into a back and forth. I love Charlie James, but that's my brother. I had to ask him though, like why, like Brandon Stryker with that comment he made, he said that he basically said, as a black man, I shouldn't even worry if somebody walked around with a noose, I shouldn't care. No, that's no, because I know the history of the noose and I know how it's used, and I understand that the person who has that symbol in their hand is trying to send me a message. I'm offended. So, don't tell me that as a black man, I should not be offended because of a white person, with a noose. And like Natalie said she's a Jew. You know, Natalie should be offended if somebody comes around her and has a swastika. That is totally disrespectful. And I'm gonna stand for her because I know that that person does not have good intentions. So we need to take that person out. So you don't tell somebody the level of offense that they should take from symbols that have been used historically to oppress people. So we should definitely not do that. And I say he's adopting an alt-right mentality. That's not good, man. We got to be really sensitive to what people tell us and we gotta listen. But yo, I'm gonna go now, y'all. I just wanted to ramble on for this hour. I love y'all, but I like these conversations and we'll continue moving forward. And I love y'all. Let me see something. I was taught that imitation was the highest form of compliment. Most Italian pizzas joints in New Jersey, where I come from, have Mexican chefs. I would love to teach Italian cooking and could care less if you open a restaurant. My dad had an Italian restaurant and we had a black chef. He was great. So having a chef is different from owning a restaurant, right? That's my thing. And so owning a restaurant is different from being a chef. I can be able to cook the food, but when you start opening up all these stores, that's when people start looking at, okay, that's cultural appropriation. Okay, so she says, but you allow rappers to say anything. That's freedom of speech. See, this is the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing. And I'm gonna say this. As a conservative, I am a person that is definitely for limited government. When you start giving the government, when you start giving the government so much authority over your day-to-day lives, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. So musicians and things like that, you got to be careful how you allow the government to come in and start mandating things and infringing on speech. You got to be careful. If this guy says he had sex with 1,000 women, I don't got to listen to it. I can just turn my radio off. I say, hey, I'm not listening to that. I can choose not to. If I don't like gospel music and I feel like I don't like Jesus Christ, whatever, if you feel you're not a Christian, you don't got to listen to it. But the thing is, if for people who are conservative and say that we want limited government, you got to be careful when you start asking the government to do things that infringe upon your constitutional rights, because you're opening up a can of worms. So the talking point sounds good. Oh yeah, we need to stop these rappers from saying anything. It sounds good, but what about when the government says, well, let's stop you. Well, let's start saying, hey, you can't talk about poverty. What about when the government says, okay, well, you can't talk about this or you can't talk about that? Now it's like, whoa, what if the government wants to censor country music? Whoa, you can't say this. You can't talk about homosexuality in music. What if you got a gay rapper, a gay country artist, and they talk about, homosexual activity in their songs? So should the government say, hey, you can't talk about that? That's again. So you got to be careful. See, like I said, these talking points, they sound good and yeah, you allow rappers to say anything, and that talking point sounds good, but then when you start sitting back, you got to be careful. Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. So my whole thing is, you just don't listen to it. If I don't want to listen to a lot of that stuff in my car, guess what? I don't play it. I throw it out. My son in the car, I don't listen to a lot of stuff because he'll repeat it. My daughter in the car, I don't listen to stuff, she'll repeat it. If she older, yeah, I might listen to it. But you got to be careful when you start, asking the government to start you don't like rappers so bad that you're saying, oh, okay, well, why are we allowing these rappers to say it? Because that's free speech. And when you start infringing on that, now you got a constitutional problem. And it's when you start the government to start regulating what you can say and what you can't say, now you're opening up a can of worms. So as a conservative, got to be careful about things like that. Just don't listen to it. But when you start that government regulation, you crossing the line. Government control leads to communism. Correct. People think the opposite. Less government equals freedom, like Chaz, but history proves otherwise. Let me tell you like this. You have a double standard. No, it's not about. I just said they explained it. I don't understand what people are talking about. Double standard. I just explained it. I said if you don't want to, if you don't want to listen to it, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. Speak out against it. You got freedom of speech too. Condemn it, but then you don't want to start government regulation. Now that's going to cause you a whole nother issue. Now the government is going to say, hey, well, you can listen to this, you can't listen to that. I don't want that. I'd rather speak out against it. And as a citizen, I have a freedom to not listen to it. So I throw it out the window. I can protest it against it. But the thing is, I will never get in a situation to where I start asking the government to come in and start regulating the speech of music artists. No, like Tammy said, that's what got us where we are. The government is in our homes, schools, etc. I want them out of my business. Exactly. I don't want more government. We want less government. So when we're asking the government to come in and start, talking to rappers and musicians and this and that, that's a recipe for disaster. The best thing to do is don't listen to it. If you want to boycott it, you have the right to boycott. You have the freedom of speech. If you want to speak out against it, you can speak out against it. If you don't want to waste your time with it, you don't got to waste your time with it. If you want to educate children that this is not what you do, then you go to school, you educate the children, you talk to the people in the community. You have a voice. But when you start asking the government to come in and start telling us what to do and how to do and what to say and when to say it, you have a huge problem on your hands. Right now, they're trying to make everybody in the city wear a mask. Do I agree with that? No. You should have a choice where if you want to wear a mask outside, if I'm walking down the street, I should not have to wear a mask. I don't because I don't want to. If I want to wear a mask, I should wear a mask. If a person has a business and they say, hey, you got to wear a mask to come in my business, absolutely. That person has every right to make you wear a mask if you come into their private business. If I say, hey, you got to wear a mask before you come in the community resource center, that is my building. That is my place of business. I can tell you to wear a mask when you walk into the Community Resource Center, North Charleston. The government should not be able to tell me how to run my business. Keep government out. Natalie, yes, you are getting a vaccine. I can see you lined up. You might not tell nobody, but your ass is going to get a vaccine. Stop trying to be slick because I know you're going to get that vaccine. You're fronting on Facebook. All right, y'all, but I appreciate it, man. This is Brother Shakim. I appreciate y'all 1000%. I'm out, y'all. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Peace.